The state of the Nigerian nation has left a bitter aftertaste in the mouth of many, ranging from insecurity and poor infrastructure to inflation and a high rate of unemployment. It is, however, worthy of note that the efforts government claims it's put in place to stem these challenges. How effective the government approach at cracking these nuts will eventually be, only time will tell. And joining us to discuss all of this is a youth advocate, Seun Awogbenle. Seun will also be speaking about his new book, The Urgency of Now, Why Nigeria Needs a Vision of Prosperity, Protection and Liberty, as it prefers solutions to the country's many problems. It's good to have you join us on the program.
My pleasure. I'm really pleased to be here.
All right, let's start with the high levels of insecurity in the state and even in the nation at large. What are your initial thoughts?
Well, I think it's actually sad where we are right now with the level of insecurity that we have, in the country. The Constitution is actually clear that the security and the welfare of the people shall be the fundamental responsibility of government. For whatever reason, I think that government has a basic and primary function to actually protect the people. Lives just have to matter, right? But what we have seen so far is a complete departure from, that constitutional promise or that constitutional benchmark. Government has not been able to completely secure the people. There's so much anxiety. There's so much, people are uncertain. Yes, that's the word. There's so much uncertainty in the land, right? So it is actually sad that we have government that's not really been able to live up to even that constitutional benchmark as well. So for me, I think it is completely sad, and I think government just has to do more.
Now, Seun, can you reimagine a restructured Nigeria with prospects for growth, irrespective of ethnic sentiments for now and the future? What will it take for us to get to this stage?
Well, in restructuring, Nigeria, I think you noted in your prologue in my book, I said, yes, it is actually okay that, to devolve powers to the federating unit. But I think we actually have to go more. We have to go a step further to actually situate what exactly is the Nigerian vision, right? For me, like I described in the book, Nigerian vision is a vision is the minimum and irreducible promise of government or state to its own people. As it stands, we cannot entirely point at what can be described as the promise of state to the people. And like I've argued in several forums, that state responsibility is the foundation for patriotism. It is never otherwise. It is only proportionate. So state responsibility has to take precedence and has to be primary for you to expect patriotic zeal from the people. And then in going forward, I then propose what I think should be the Nigerian vision. One, it's a tripodal vision of what I call prosperity, of protection, and of liberty. Of prosperity, because I understand that Nigeria has a large population and also within the peculiarity of the large population, it's not just a large population. There are also, more than 60% of our population is considered by young people. Now, so there's a peculiarity that government actually needs to invest in the people. And what are the areas that guide investment in people? One, you talk about education, you talk about health and access to economic opportunities. As it stands today, a lot of people want to actually migrate. People want to leave the country. Every now and then you hear people say, they want to go to Canada and the rest. That's because there's dearth of opportunities here in the country. Government has to do more. Unemployment is rising. We need to create jobs for our teeming young people. Young people need to be able to find hope in this country. People shouldn't just have to get by. We have what can now be described as survival mode. Almost everybody's on survival mode. That's dangerous. You don't have the bulk of your population living on survival alone. People should be able to live for much more than survival. They should be able to live for hope, for ambition, for opportunities. And as it stands, Nigeria is presently not offering that. I talked about protection. That's the first question you asked me about security. Lives just have to matter. Government has to show more urgency in trying to, deal decisively with the security challenges that we have. And I talked about liberty. In trying to talk about liberty is essentially, protecting guaranteeing the rights of the citizens. from the fundamental rights to essential rights, and even what I describe as aspirational rights. Rights have to be guaranteed. The Twitter ban is a no-no. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm saying. What is even sad is that what you have come to see today is that government is the one that is even complicit in, in violating the rights of the people. And that is an aberration in a democracy. The democracy actually provides for, rule of law. You don't just come and, it's completely different. The people, you have to ensure that the rights of people are completely are guaranteed at all times. But as it stands, the rights of people are constantly violated. You cannot have a country where there's so much injustice in the land, particularly with rights. I mean, people are protesting, and then the next thing you see is that government is going heavy, really heavy on them. That is unacceptable in a society, in a democracy. You say people can no longer express themselves on Twitter. That is wrong. You can't just wake up and say, oh, people should not be able to express themselves. Those are rights. Those are fundamental rights. They are universal rights. In fact, those are rights that are conferred on people. They were never at the discretion of the state. So I am surprised that we have come to a point where the state is trying to derogate some of these rights. These are rights that were conferred on all of us by virtue of our humanity. That fundamental right to expression, the right to assembly and peaceful protest. These are rights that are not just guaranteed, that are not just entrenched in the Constitution. They are rights that we have by virtue of our humanity. And I think government should understand this. We cannot continue to have what you call almost like a descent into anarchy. No, it is completely unacceptable. Government needs to know that the people must be the foundation of every democracy. But as it stands today, it seems like that is not exactly what is obtainable in Nigeria. And that's why you have what you might, likely describe as, trust and credibility deficit. Because it appears as though you have a political class that is on the one hand, and you have citizens that are on the other hand. There's so much lopsidedness in the land. The people have to be at the center and they have to be the center and foundation of democratic governance. But as it stands today, we're not entirely getting that, and government just has to do more.
All right then. Let me ask you, or let's move on to other issues now. Given the facts that you've talked about the levels of insecurity in the country, and also given the facts that you've also talked about the Twitter scenario, how important then is intergenerational dialogue, especially when it comes to today's democracy here in Nigeria?
Oh, thank you. I like that question. I'm glad that you brought it up. We had, an intergenerational dialogue yesterday where we brought, senior political leaders together and then young people. See, the idea is just the admission that as much as, like I've said in the book, vision is the purview of young people. But you need the young and the old. It is not essentially just about the young people. You need an intergenerational cooperation, that cuts across ages, demography, or even generation. If you are going to be able to situate a vision or craft a new vision for the country, then you are going to require the depth and the experience of the old order, and then the dynamism, the inventiveness, and the energy of young people. And then, we're going to have to bring them together. So it is not like, one generation is exclusive of the other. No, they are actually complementary. Both generations would have to come together to agree that we want to make this country work. That for all our differences, we are all in this together, both as a generation, as a demography, and and ages, and even based on our experience. So it is not just going to be the preserve of one generation. No, it is not just going to be about young people. It is also, we're also going to need the old order to come together to ensure that we are able to then agree on what is on what can be described as the way forward for the country. So I mean, for me right now, I'm actually at the stage where we're thinking of actually expanding the conversation even to different states of the country, where we can actually make people understand that we need both the young and old to actually to be able to move forward in terms of policy design, policy formulation, and implementation. So at the point that we are in, I mean, it's a very difficult time for Nigeria. It's a very sobering moment for the entire country. and it's a very uncertain time for quite a lot of people in Nigeria. But this is also the time for all of us to rise as one. It is a time for all of us, both as young and old, to come together to agree on what can be described as the blueprint and the framework for development of the country.
Indeed, a sobering moment there. Now, Seun, I'd just like your thoughts on this book, Urgency of Now, A Nigerian Needs and Vision of Prosperity, Production and Liberty. What was the motivation behind this topic? And of course, what do you hope to achieve with it? Briefly, please.
Oh, the motivation is that, I've come to see that the solution, a lot of people have proposed different solutions. Some have proposed, some have proposed extreme measures like the outright balkanization of Nigeria, which I do not agree. Some have even proposed, some presently propose restructuring in the form of devolution of power, which I partly agree with. But I think that, beyond restructuring and devolving powers to federating units, you need more than that. You need what can be described as a minimum and irreducible promise of government to its own people. I cited the example of, country like Singapore. When Singapore got independence from Malaysia in 1965, in the absence of natural resources, the founding fathers of the country decided to invest in education, human capital development, essentially. So what they did is that, with that priority on education, the country is one of the top 20 countries for business and investment in the world today. It is not because, and when I say vision, I'm not saying, it forecloses all other responsibility of government, but that there's going to be an irreducible minimum, or what you can call a pact and promise to the people. I cited the example of United Kingdom. The Magna Carta, which we all know about, has become the foundation for democratic governance, all over the world. But here's the thing: the Magna Carta, more importantly, speaks to the rights of both the noble and the commoners. And essentially, what it was saying as at 1215 is that, for whatever reason, this country is going to secure the rights of people, and at all times it's going to protect their rights. It is the reason why you can say that relatively in the United Kingdom you have a very strong judicial system. It's a promise to the people. You go to United States, which has become the land of, which is known for being the land of opportunities. The rags to riches story is not uncommon. That is what you can call a promise. When you go into an election in the United States, some of the things that are likely to define an election includes things like was agenda like unemployment. Those are things that actually define. There are things that actually define their election. Then you come to Nigeria. What then is the promise of the people? What then is the promise of governments to the people? And in fact, I should even tell you this: that you sing the national anthem, the first stanza of the national anthem, "Arise, O compatriot." From "Arise, O compatriot" down to the last line of the first stanza of the national anthem, he was speaking about the people, the people's promise to the people. "Arise, O compatriot." Nigeria's call obey. But then, there was essentially no part of that, anthem that was talking about the promise of the state to the people. And that's what I'm saying, that it is disproportionate. The state has to take responsibility first for the people, and it has to be clear, it has to be made known.
Indeed, Seun. Many thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. Seun Awogbenle, youth advocate and author of Urgency Now. Many thanks for coming on the program.